to share with you a new meeting, a conversation, a very insightful conversation with some friends that are, say, very focused on highlighting the power of Mediterranean diet, the values of Mediterranean diet, inside a framework that is the framework of the week celebrating the Italian culture, the Italian cuisine, the Italian excellences around the world. This year is a very important year because we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of Mediterranean diet as one of the UNESCO heritage. Of course, this is a global heritage, but we strongly believe that Mediterranean diet is also one of the legacy that we in Italy, we need to preserve, we need to highlight, we need to spread around the world. And overall, we have to learn from the history. We have to learn from the incredible journey that since more than 2,000 years have been starting here. So today we decided to stay in our country, stay close, and we are broadcasting from the Vatican. And we decided to deep dive into Mediterranean diet, understanding not only the value, but the origins and what is connecting us to the future. The topic of sustainability, the topic of using food as a tool for inclusion. And we are doing that with three special friends. First of all, the ambassador Sebastiani. He is the Italian ambassador at the Vatican. Then our friend and companion in this journey, the mayor of Pollica, Stefano Pisani. Together with Stefano, we started a journey 1 year ago, really starting to involve all our global network, involve FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization, involving our students, the entire platform of Future Food, really to come in Pollica, come and visit and experience what we're talking about. And so this is a journey that is taking us from Pollica around the world. And then last but not least, and actually where I'm talking now, actually I'm inside the Academy, I'm going to introduce you to Don Andrea Ciucci, who's the secretary of the Academy for Life here at the Vatican. So first of all, I would love to invite here in this virtual stage with me, Ambassador Pietro Sebastiani. Today, we want to talk about really the origin and the essential elements of Mediterranean diet and which are the learnings we can take inspiration from, which are the learnings we can spread around the world, we can share with our communities that are really starting from this way of living, this lifestyle. So Ambassador Sebastiani, join me in this conversation.
Thank you. Good morning. Buongiorno da Palazzo Borromeo, home to the Embassy of Italy to the Holy See. Dear friends, dear fellows, and also the many friends who are following us through several social platforms. The team chosen for today's event is very important, of course, and I congratulate the organizers for their commitment, especially in favor of the young generations. I know you personally, Sara, have been involved in this effort for many years. Among famine and droughts, opulence and consumerism, and lastly, devastating pandemia, our earth is striving for a difficult balance. Can a proper food culture help us overcome this crisis? And above all, can we solve the biggest problem for humanity, that is to provide everyone with water and a healthy, sufficient, and nutrient food? We must also be always aware that these problems concern every single country. In fact, in front of more than 800 million people still starving and malnourished these days, mainly live in the least developed countries, we have more than 1 billion people eating an unbalanced diet. too poor in micronutrients, minerals or vitamins, and also we have a 5 billion or so eating an unbalanced diet too rich in animal-derived proteins. All these unbalanced diets lead to obesity, diabetes, cancer, and cardiovascular problems in both well-developed and least developed countries. If we want to find a new global and sustainable equilibrium for our planet, we need to look for new economic and agro-food systems. We're aware that our planet already is producing enough calories to feed its inhabitants that will top, as we know, 9 billion within less than a generation. In the 2015 encyclical letter Laudato Si, which has, as we know, paved the way and strongly influenced the UN 2030 agenda in the words of their own writers. I recall the then deputy president of the committee, Pope Francis said, "It is cruel, unjust, I quote, and paradoxical reality that today there is food for everyone, and yet not everyone has access to it. And that in some areas of the world, food is wasted, discarded, and consumed in excess or destined to further purposes than nutrition. To escape from this spiral, we need to promote economic institutions and social initiatives which can give the poor regular access to basic resources." In a word, our answer is to be not simply to increase production and productivity, as one may think, but to put forward and promote healthy eating models, as well as to guarantee access to food to the most vulnerable, reducing and eventually eliminating food losses and waste. Food waste is an unacceptable paradox of our times, since 1/3 of the food production gets lost. Food loss and waste can be found in both developed and least developed countries, in the harvesting and in the consumption phase, respectively, for instance. The economic damage is huge. The consumption of water, soil, energy is enormous, and so are CO2 emissions. The urgency of creating a culture of change towards food sustainability concerns each of us. It concerns our future, the future of our children, and the future of our planet. It means that the focus should not be a single ailment, but on the balance of all ailments, along with a healthy living style. Unfortunately, agriculture, diets, and nutrition have changed so drastically in recent decades that now even the concept of a sustainable diet seems almost like something revolutionary. In 2010, I recall you mentioned the 10 years that have gone since the adoption of the UNESCO Mediterranean diet in the list of intangible cultural heritage. In 2010, during the then International Year of Biodiversity, I was at the time ambassador to FAO, IFAD, and WFP. Along with a few other Mediterranean colleagues, we worked hard, along again with our colleagues in Paris, of course, and we were all then very thrilled to see the inclusion of the Mediterranean diet within the UNESCO list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. It is a common heritage that brings together the eating habits of the people of the Mediterranean basin, consolidated over the centuries and remained almost unchanged until the 50s, and which goes far beyond a simple list of foods, but it concerns the culture of social, traditional, and agricultural practices. The promotion of the Mediterranean diet, which is a model of healthy nutrition and lifestyle, can help us achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, in particular those targets for food security, improved nutrition, social inclusion, reduction of environmental impacts, and improvements of well-being for current and future generations. Above all, the Mediterranean diet is a lifestyle that includes a series of skills, knowledge, rituals, symbols, and traditions concerning crops, harvesting, fishing, animal husbandry, conservation, processing, cooking, and let me stress, the sharing and consumption of food. Eating together is the basis of the cultural identity and continuity of communities within the Mediterranean basin, where the values of hospitality, neighborhood, intercultural dialogue, and creativity are combined with respect for the territory and biodiversity. There is, I believe, a Mediterranean koine, a unique blend of symbols, values, colors, architecture, flavor, and diet. Diet in ancient Greek means exactly way of life, modus vivendi in Latin, a relational and cultural element that reinforces the sense of belonging and sharing among communities. But there is a second meaning of the word dieta that is place and dwelling. So it also means home or place of belonging, habitat, but also habits, a common understanding. The Mediterranean, sometimes depicted more as a huge lake than a sea. I remember La Pira, who has been 3 times during the 50s mayor of Florence, naming the Mediterranean a big lake of Tiberiades. The Mediterranean enjoys the best location among the temperate, mild areas of the planet. Perfect temperatures, modest winds brought about a tremendous variety of biodiversity. This basin, a crossroad of 3 continents, has been a unique culture, growth of civilizations, trade, as well as the cradle of the monotheistic religions. So for us Italians, food is not just a natural source of nourishment, but also an essential component of our people's health and well-being, as we said also lifestyle, a characteristic element of our territories, result of millenary elaborations, and therefore somehow fundamental legacy of our history and civilization. But if the Mediterranean diet has been successfully proposed as a model in which we strongly believe, this model is also strongly linked to solidarity. For instance, as a result of COVID-19, between 83 and 132 million more people are estimated that could be pushed into hunger during 2020 and 2021. And the nutritional status of the most vulnerable groups is also likely to deteriorate. Against this background, Italy and the Food and Agriculture Organization put forward recently the idea of a food coalition, calling for an international alliance to prevent that health crisis may turn into a catastrophic world food crisis. Not only to assure global food access, but also to increase the resilience of, and in many cases, the transformation of agro-food systems in a more sustainable manner. And we strongly believe that the traditional Mediterranean diet could be a trigger for sustainable and inclusive economic development, because as we have seen, it guarantees a balance between nature and mankind and the renewal of resources. Pope Francis has often reminded us how fundamental it is to address the inequities in the economy, and especially within the food system chain. Global solidarity is essential to help all populations in the so-called developing countries, but also in the wealthy countries, to recover from the crisis and to make food systems more resilient and robust so they can deliver affordable and sustainable healthy diets for all. In Pope Francis' words a year ago at FAO, he said, I quote, the distorted relationship between food and nutrition call for a conversion in our way of living and acting. Nutritional disorders can only be combated by the cultivation of lifestyles inspired by gratitude for the gifts we have received and the adoption of a spirit of temperance, moderation, abstinence, self-control, and solidarity. End of the quote. So by adopting such a lifestyle, the Holy Father affirms that we should grow in a fraternal solidarity that seeks the common good and avoids the individualism and egocentrism that serves only to generate hunger and social inequality. Such a lifestyle will enable us to cultivate a healthier relationship with ourselves, with our brothers and sisters, and with the environment in which we live. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much also to mentioning youth a lot in your words. We just spent the entire weekend following the economy of Francesco and reflecting a lot on the message of the Pope and founding in the same message also the key ingredients and elements that we are also highlighting within our traditions and our way of approaching Mediterranean diet. You have been talking a lot about the balance between people and planet. And of course, when we are exposed to the SDGs, we are always, say, adding to the people, planet, and this ecosystem, the word prosperity. Really trying to think how might we implement the Sustainable Development Goals really as a framework to guide the society and to grow together, to thrive together. So when we went in Pollica and we were exposed to the community of Mediterranean diet, we had really the chance to see how this local community have been thriving during these years and have been developing really a way of living that is exposing this community to have many different benefits and to impact positively on their ecosystem. When we were there, of course, Major Pisani told us, you have to come and you have to discover the place. You have to talk with the people and you will find which are the real ingredients of Mediterranean diet. And we decided to kick off our journey, not in Pollica, but to invite our students in Velia and to get exposed to which are the origins of Mediterranean diet and to go back in the history and so start to study again the Greek philosophers that were already talking about this natural balance between humans and nature, from Parmenides, Zenone, and all the Eleatic school actually starting to debate about that. And then we started seeing really what was the evolution of Mediterranean diet that through the history have been in the same area, always around Cilento, was also generating the first Western medical school with Scuola Salernitana. And then going on through the history, we had the chance to host in the same land these two scientists, Ansel and Margaret Keyes, that for the first time after the World War were really studying also the effect of Mediterranean diet on the cardiovascular disease and how this lifestyle, how these products, how those biodiversity, how this air, this sea, the air that they were breathing was affecting on their quality of life. And then we ended up into the most important ingredient, that is commensality, sociality, the fact of sharing food, the fact of caring about all the way, the journey that food does from the field to the table, and how they care about the way they share food. So I really would love Stefano Pisani can share actually what he thinks are those ingredients and how he sees that those ingredients can inspire the world, how we can really export not only, of course, our incredible produce as Italy, because of course we know that export and the quality of the ingredients that comes from our land are so precious, but also how we can export this way of living.
Good morning. Good morning to everybody. I'm sorry, but first of all, I need to say sorry for my English. I speak very bad English, so I'll try to simplify the big concept of Mediterranean diet. If you want to discover the real spirit of Mediterranean diet, you must do one thing. But I am the mayor, so it's not necessarily true. But if you want, you can try. Try to have a treasure hunt. Try to discover the real place of Mediterranean diet. Not only Pollica, the big part of Campania region in the south. You can discover the real spirit of Mediterranean diet. You pass through history by ancient Greek to modernity. You can discover why a famous scientist, Ansel Keys, and his wife, Margaret Keys, can discover the Mediterranean diet. For the people of Pollica, Mediterranean diet is a simple life. Is the every day people get up and go to bed and have to do many things in the journey, but it's only the life. For Ansel Keys, the Ansel Keys discover Mediterranean diet when know very well the diet, the work, and also the social interaction by the people. Never the people stay together, talk about the problem, try to find a solution also together. And the other thing is very important. When we eat together. And when we eat, have a very important circle of information, discussion, and other. So, if somebody asks to me, what is Mediterranean diet? I don't have an answer. For me, the most important thing for discovering Mediterranean diet is know the place of Mediterranean diet, because you discover the biodiversity of the world, not only of Pollica. You find a way to produce food, a way to eat food. Nobody was food in the Mediterranean diet lifestyle. Because for us it's very important, the value of food, it's not only nutrition, is a way to preserve the biodiversity. We try to choose the right plant in the right time all around the year. We eat only in the right way, and also another important thing is Mediterranean. The ambassador talked about the importance of Mediterranean Sea. Everybody talk about Mediterranean Sea as a problem in the modernity. Nobody see now Mediterranean Sea as a resource. For Mediterranean diet, lifestyle, the ancient lifestyle, Mediterranean is very important. Somebody said the Mediterranean Sea is the first internet, the first, yes, the first place where the people have a network. Think about the ancient Greek passed through the sea with the navy and other. Think about Roman. Think about how many pieces of biodiversity, people, culture pass through the Mediterranean Sea and part from a point and arrive in another point and generate a big and change the reality, the normal reality. When we discover a piece of ancient culture, for example, Velia, we don't discover only Velia, Elea Velia, the ancient city. We discover the piece of Greek culture when the culture arrived in Italy and have a contamination by the different type of culture. And the result is not only one kind of culture and the other together. No, it's a new culture. And Mediterranean diet, Mediterranean lifestyle is a continuum all around the world and from the past to the future. So for us, the challenge for the future is try to find a new way, try to find a model, try to tell all the world why Mediterranean lifestyle is the right way for the future. Not only because was born in Pollica. No, this is the this is not important because this is the right model to respect planet, to respect people, and to have a new way to produce an opportunity for the next generation. I'm very sorry for my English.
The concept was clear, and I think that you highlighted another very important ingredient, that is diversity, and how much the Mediterranean basin actually, you mentioned, was the first internet of the world. But what I see when I discover all the different souls of the Mediterranean people, this is really a celebration of diversity. And we see how much now we need to foster this kind of conversation and to see diversity as a value. Diversity is richness. Diversity is what we need to highlight now more than ever before. The values of Mediterranean diet are not easy to flourish in a society like the one we're living now, where actually personal success or the leading mindset or the leading way of leading, where actually there's a huge level of narcissism and big leaders are not focused on taking care about what is needed now. I strongly believe that is only possible to prosper now, embracing this approach, embracing diversity, and embracing the mindset that is taking care of the collective well-being. This means also thinking about the importance of caring about the environment, biodiversity, of course, health and access to the basic needs. Now, I think that it's interesting to start to connect the dots and also to see what is needed for humanity, because we're living in a pretty unprecedented time in history where actually we all feel the need of a very strong, urgent and radical change. And we also have been reading a lot about integral ecology and the need of really approaching this shift from many different perspectives. But to implement that, of course, it requires championship, solidarity, collaboration, sharing knowledge, also trusting science, but also taking those words that we are sharing now into the real life and implementing projects that needs to start now, because we don't have the time to approach the challenges we're facing. There's no time enough. So this summer, we had the chance also to invite in our journey during the Food and Climate Shapers Bootcamp a friend, a scientist, a bright mind, who's Andrea Ciucci. He is coordinating the secretary of the Pontifical Academy for Life. And together with him, we've been debating a lot in the past, and he's a great source of inspiration for us because he always think about what's the broader perspective of our words when we talk about innovation and impacts, and actually how all of that is framed within a broader, say, a broader sense. So I really would love Andrea to now take the stage, the virtual stage, and share with us really some thoughts that can help us to better understand which are the ingredients, how might we take those ingredients and implement them in our real life. We're talking about food, and we're talking about the most essential things for life. Food is life, is energy, but also is sociality. And now we need to start from that. And food is the easiest entry point for everyone.
Okay, now I'm on the stage. So thank you very much, Sara, for your introduction. Thank you very much for your speeches, Ambassador Sebastiani, Major Pisani. Thank you and welcome to everybody. I would like to reflect with us around 6 words, okay, and that I think are able to understand in a better way what Mediterranean diet offers today our culture and to all the humanity. The first is a very religious word. The word is tradition, but please note, the word tradition indicates a dynamism, not aesthetic condition. A tradition, it is a delivery, is a passing from one person to another one. Traditions are not preserved. Traditions are left to act. Having a tradition means having something that enables me to look to the future. To have a tradition means to have something to give to another who comes after me. Tradition is a dynamic experience. Also, a gastronomic tradition is a dynamic experience, not aesthetic experience. And the first word and this idea permit us to introduce the second word. The second word is heritage, is the celebration of this week, no? An heritage. Heritage or patrimony. In Latin, the word heritage, patrimonium, comes from pater munus, the duty of a father. The heritage is the duty of a father. Of a father. So the duty of a man who generates new children, a father. Of the duty of a man who gives continuity to history. The heritage is the duty of the history. Is the duty of one who cares that the younger generations have something to face life with. Caring or celebrate an heritage or caring for heritage does not mean accumulating, but taking responsibility for the future today. Tradition and heritage. So celebrating a tradition or preserving the heritage that it is for the whole of humanity is therefore an operation for the future. Our gaze cannot stop at the past. Who betide us if we think of the past today and perhaps even regret it? How beautiful those times were. This is terrible. Regret is the feeling of those who escape the present. Regret is the excuse of those who don't want to face the responsibility for the future. Regret is the feeling of those who waste the gift received from the past, of course, that has been and will never return, fortunately. I don't love the word regret. Yeah, no. Either the tradition of Mediterranean diet that we are celebrating today helps us to live in this time in a more human way of our meeting today is useless. Either the heritage offered by this food wisdom enables us to think with confidence about the future, or we are wasting our time. The Mediterranean diet is a part of our history. It has been part of the history of all humanity for 10 years, a history. And the history is based on two words, the third and the fourth of my speech: a time and a place. The Mediterranean and its millenary tradition. The time, a precise, a concrete time. The historicity of the Mediterranean diet connects us to real people, men, farmers and breeders, and women, especially women. Women, their interests, their concerns, their tastes, their ingredients. A precise time can offer, and in this case it certainly offers, a concrete wisdom, marked by meetings and migration, by different seasons, by occasion, sometimes also tragedies. And then, for words, a place. A countryside with its products and not others. A sea with its fishes and not others. The animals of that land and not others. A place. It's particular climate, even in the changes and dynamics, of course. It's land. I totally agree with Major Pisani. Yes, if you want to discover a tradition like Mediterranean diet, you must visit the place. Not because it is the better place in the world. I'm sorry, Major. It's one of the most important, but not the most one. But because we need to eradicate our experience in a time and in a place. This is not a problem. Historicity and localism are a powerful vaccine against two terrible enemies. The first one is the ideology. Even those ideologies dedicated to the good of humanity. No, we don't need a great idea. We don't need a very important project produced by the most brightful minds. No, we need concrete experiences. The historicity and the localism help us to fight ideologies. And the second, the historicity and localism are a powerful vaccine against all science fiction stories, as beautiful as unreal. No. The Mediterranean diet is not and cannot be transformed into any idea, a project, not even an ideal to aspire to. Its ingredients, its methods, its recipes, its flavors, even its objective limits, because there are some limits, of course, constitute a real experience, offering a new ground to look forward to. In my opinion, I think that we don't have to say today that we all have to eat like the last century in Cilento. No, I don't think this. I think you can do with taste and satisfaction where you are in Pollica, of course, on holiday next summer. Yes, but not daily. No, I don't think that all the world must eat like in Cilento. But I think that this diet is able to make us able to understand how we can eat in the different parts of the world today and in the future. Everyone knows that the world has changed dramatically, fastly in the recent decades. It has become smaller and richer, also gastronomically, and this is a good news. The Mediterranean diet, cultured and appreciated in its time and space, offers not a closed recipe book, a very good, the best cookbook in the world, but a wise horizon, within which to invent new flavors and new way to feed 7 billion people every day in a healthy and nutritious way, as Ambassador Sebastiani said a few minutes ago. In this sense, the Mediterranean diet offers us an ethical vision, not because it says what has to be insuperable or an obligation. No, but because it continuously asks the fundamental questions to those who have to feed the planet today in the future and offer some possible answer. Yes, a lot of questions. This is the word, this is my word, produce new questions. It's not simple. This is one of the work of the Pontifical Academy for Life, produce continuously new questions about the human life. So for example, is a diet respectful of man and his psychological and cultural needs? Is a style of food capable of feeding everyone and not just a few privileged people? Is every production attentive to a planet objectively stressed by human presence? Is the modern way of breeding animal not indifferent to the life that is in them? This is the ethical perspective, this is the ethical function. And I think that Mediterranean diet offers, with its experience, its story, this question to everybody, to all men and women engaged in the production and in delivery and the sustainable chain, the food chain. Mediterranean diet teaches us not to forget relationships and responsibilities, the fifth and the sixth word of my speech. Relationship, connection with the place and the time, connection with people involved in the food supply chain, connection with the stories. All with this connection, we are able to produce and to consume together a human food. And responsibilities. A responsibility for me, for my family, my people, my tradition, my place, but at the same time, in the same way, all the humankind. A responsibility for this planet, for its animals, for the plants, for the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Don Andrea. Always the Pontifical Academy for Life is challenging us with the most crucial question, because we're all saying that we need to eat well, eat sustainably, and so on. But we also know that the month ahead we're going to face are going to be very challenging, because the level of poorness around the world is rising like never before in history. And we need to make sure we can make sustainable, healthy food accessible for all. And this is actually the big challenge, because if we are going to push people to buy organic, buy local, buy high quality, but then those produce are still just for a niche, this is something that, of course, doesn't work and is not achieving the goal we have. So thank you so much for highlighting those topics. But here we're entering, I think, in the field of food diplomacy, policies, how we can make it possible, how we can influence the policy leaders. So I see that we, as Italy, we have a huge challenge ahead and also a huge opportunity, because 2021 is going to be a very, very important year. Our country is going to host some of the most important global meetings. So the world's leaders, we hope they can fly, but the world's leaders are going to come here in our country, and we can actually have an influence on that. I strongly believe in the power, in the soft power of food. And I think we can actually play a crucial role to influence the G20, COP26, the UN Pre-Food System Summit, many meetings happening here in the country. So now I would love to ask to Ambassador Sebastiani, how do you think we can really spread this power? We can really influence the world, starting from those very little ingredients, but I think that those ingredients are the ones that can really inspire people to change the way they are living, to change the way they are producing around the world.
Yes, thank you. It's a very interesting question, in fact. You pointed out that next year is a very crucial year. In fact, the meeting of the G20 is going to be very important. We know well that the G20 has suffered a little bit in the past few years. It never succeeded in enlarging the G7, G8 format fully. But of course, is the most comprehensive, let's say, decisional environment we have, apart, of course, from the more general UN organization structure, because, of course, the biggest economies are there, and also the large portion of the world population. But to me, the COP26, which will presidency that we will share with the UK next year, in many ways is even more important, because as we have spoken even today about the importance of the Agenda 2015, the UN Agenda 2015, inspired by the Laudato Si. The Agenda 2015 is in fact responding very much to the social doctrine of the Church. That means that it's astonishing to in a way, to see that 188 countries, almost, I would say, all of them, one way or the other, secularized, have accepted and have endorsed complete center of everything that is this new is the human being. So everything turns around, has to turn around as well the human being. So everything is related. Health and environment and human rights, peace, and so forth. And it's giving the responsibility to the individuals and also to the state, of course. But for the first time, each one of us is, of course, responsible for his or her actions, and also responsible for his or her community. The Laudato Si is, as you know, is not simply talking about environment. It's in fact twisting the environmental issue towards a more social and poses the question of inequalities and injustice. And it is very, very important. So if we consider that the word of the Holy Father is heard, very much heard by the young people, is in fact the voice that is heard by far in the biggest way we can imagine. The question of environment declinated towards social issues is very important. We will approach this issue next year because we have one pre-COP event in Milan dealing with youth. And again, the question of youth is extremely important. That will be between the 28th and the 30th of September next year. And then we will have another event preceding the COP26 meeting beginning of November in Glasgow. And there will be another meeting, maybe in Rome or Milan, we don't know yet. It will be devoted to Africa, because we have been talking this morning a lot about, of course, the Mediterranean diet. I think it is important also that we mention the importance of Africa, because the southern shores of the Mediterranean, of course, covers Northern Africa, the Middle East, but Africa is very key for the future of humanity. It's very key for the future of Europe. For sure, it's very key for the future of this country. For many, many reasons. For reasons of proximity, for reasons of demography, for reasons of trade and growth, economic growth of both Europe and this important emerging country, and the fact that unfortunately Africa, which is as you know, as we all know, two times and a half the size of Europe, is showing us the complexity of the problem humanity is facing, and especially if we think about the countries of sub-Saharan countries. There you have very, very clearly in front of you this link I was mentioning about the fact that deteriorated environments, whether due to climate or whether due to internal political fighting and so forth, create deterioration also of human relations and human rights and peace. So we think that devoting time next year to address these issues, both Africa, the youth, the planet, from the environment point of view, from the point of view, of course, of green economy, and the point of view, of course, of a transition to a different economy, as you pointed out before, and you referred to the economy of Francis, which recently took place in Assisi. So we think that indeed, and we are working hard for not to waste the chance we are having next year to do well and to bring about a culture and to push forward a culture which I referred to also in my speech, that is it is a change. Above all, we are in a transitional phase. Someone called these years we're living in the era of chaos, or but others call it with other words. But we are in a transition. We were accustomed, people of my age, to a bipolar world until the end of the 80s. Now we have seen the surge of China and the East. And it's at this point, and we have also seen a decrease by Europe, Western Europe especially. Not only this, we are living in a multipolar world, and we are seeking a new, let's say, a new architecture. Of course, from an economic point of view, the architecture of Bretton Woods seems not to be able anymore to bring about jobs, to bring about growth, and to prevent inequality in terms also of remuneration. Even the UN structure is, in fact, some way or the other showing some weakness. So we have to restructure the entire international architecture. So we have to look at the big picture, but I think you know, our experience in this part of the world it can prove as it has been in the past very important for the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. From what I hear, it means that we need to roll up our sleeves and start to work, because there's so much to do if you need to restructure the entire system. But this is actually what I also feel is needed. So 2021, we need all to be ready to help and support this big change that needs to happen. But now I want to connect some dots, because also Andrea Ciucci before was mentioning some important words, some important ingredients, and he was talking about time, the importance of time. Ambassador Sebastiani mentioned 2015. 2015 was a very important year because, of course, the Laudato Si has been presented, the Sustainable Development Goals were announced. Okay, we spent 5 years to advocate for that. Now we have in front of us only 9 agricultural seasons to transform the food system. And we have been accelerating too much in our way of living. And so now I just would love a little thoughts from Major Pisani about time and the concept of slow living and the slow way of living, because this is also something that we need to spread more. We have been accelerating, traveling too fast, working too fast. We wanted to have everything fast in our table. But then Stefano has been leading the global network of the slow cities for many years, and he's representing a little bit this concept. So Stefano, if you can share that, I think that this is a very inspiring thoughts to share.
Thank you, Sara. Probably the slowness is very important, because only if you have a good approach to the reality, we can discover all the resources and we can use we can use them. For 6 years, I was the international president of a world network, Ciucci, 280 cities around the world, 30 countries, from China, Japan, USA, Europe, many cities in Europe, decided to have a challenge for the future. Decided to try to have a new model for our cities. Decide to construct new social policy for the citizen, new policy for the agriculture. For example, also in China, we discover and help many cities, in particular 10 cities, to produce biological food in China, where the environment is very complicated to manage, and also we can invest in other important way for the child and school. We have a specific program because for us it's important to teach to young people which is the right way for the future. But we don't teach the way. We help the children to discover the right way, and we work together the children, because we want to teach the way to work on the way for the future. Sorry, but for us it's very important, this concept. Many people, when talk about an argument, a theme, on Mediterranean diet, environment, social inclusion, and other, want to something said, this is the most important thing. But in this occasion, for us, for the children, for us, is important not underline the most important thing, is teach the right way to discover the most important thing. Because for us, in the slow approach, in the modernity, many things change, and we need to have a new approach in the time, in different time, different approach for different time. This is the secret for the slow approach. Slow is necessary because we need time to discover, we need time to project the future, to design the future. And for the future, we have a big challenge. Not only the small city, not only the local policy, but we need to connect and create a network all around the world and use the good globalization to have a result and change a small part of the future.
Thank you so much, Stefano. And you have been touching the two last points I want to share with Don Andrea Ciucci. Because you have been talking about going slow, but from how I intend going slow, this doesn't mean going back, but means going forward. And going slow is including also innovation, is including also a new approach, a new mindset really on how we can redesign the future. And you have been talking about school, about youth. We started our journey talking about Mediterranean diet and celebrating this anniversary, talking with schools. More than 1,800 schools in Italy connected, more than 1,800 teachers connected. And we were starting talking about that with teachers, school teachers. Then tonight, we're gonna be in Santiago in Chile with the Italian ambassador in Chile. And we are going to talk with 600 students in Chile, talking about those concepts as well. And so now I want to just ask to Don Andrea, he's generally talking a lot to youth. And we have been talking about that also before this conversation, because we see that youth now are the generation most in danger because they have been strongly affected. We have been talking about the role of food as a way for sociality, for convening, for sharing. Food is a real social element. But of course, we're talking with a generation that has been disconnected. High school students are the one not going in schools now. And of course, university students are all disconnected and following their exams just in a digital way. So this is a generation that has been strongly affected by this pandemic because are so important those years for their personal development. So Don Andrea, some last words talking about the future and talking about youth. How might we connect the dots and really think about building a better world, also thinking about this generation?
I'm not a pessimistic man, and but in this time, I think we have a great opportunity. Yes, we know all the problems we have, the problems that youth generation has, and you summarized them in a very well way. But at the same time, I think that this time is a great challenge and a great opportunity for everyone, but in a particular way for young people. I think we must help them to recognize these opportunities and to engage in this time and in the building of the future. And I think we must be optimistic with the capabilities that youth people have. No, this is not a time for regret. This is a time neither for dream, no, to vanish. This is the time for a concrete and responsible project and the configuration of the future. Please permit young people to be the most important players of this project. They are able to do this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Don Andrea. Thank you so much, Ambassador Sebastiani and Mayor Pisani. We're gonna for sure get so much inspired by your words and take those words as, say, real ingredients to implement from tomorrow. We're gonna talk about youth and we're gonna work with youth and we're gonna try to facilitate this global conversation, transforming the debate into tangible action, making sure our country next year is going to be ready to welcome the world leaders and help those leaders taking the right decisions for the entire planet. Our journey around the world is at the beginning. We're going to be with other ambassadors and consulate in Chile, in USA, in India, in Tokyo, in Singapore, in Taiwan, and many different parts of the world, in Berlin as well. And we're gonna keep going, connecting the dots because we need to spread more those positive signals for youth and also spreading our soft power, talking about food. But for us, as you see, food is not just the food we are eating, but is food for our brain and food for the entire society. We want to feed the planet with thoughts and of course, also tasty food. Thank you so much for being with us.
Pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.